Saturday's box office numbers are out and the Sunday predicted numbers are out, and that currently puts Avengers Endgame on $2,713,201,784. And as has been the case for the past several weeks, the only thing left to see is, can Endgame beat Avatar? It is currently $63 million behind Avatar. It's getting really, really close, but things are slowing up. Is it able to get this $63 million to become the biggest film of all time? Before we break down the numbers to see if we can get this $63 million, here is our same chart once again with Star Wars The Force Awakens, Avengers Endgame, Avatar, Avengers Infinity War, Jurassic World, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. The only thing we can really see from the past week is just how much it's flattening out. So it's flattening out just like all the films underneath it flattened out. It's flattening out very similar to how the Star Wars The Force Awakens flattened out, but just a little bit worse. So it is backing off just a little bit every single day. It's earning slightly less money than what Star Wars The Force Awakens earned at the same point in time. So can it get $63 million more to beat Avatar? Well, here's the actual breakdown from the Saturday and the Sunday, which we just had. So we can see that Avengers Endgame has dropped all the way down to number 6 now. So you got $3.3 million for the Saturday. Aladdin number 1. Godzilla didn't get to the number 1 position. Pretty close. Got the number 2 spot on Saturday. And the predicted numbers for Sunday still have Avengers Endgame in the number 6 position with $2.3 million, which brings its US domestic total to $815 million. So let's look at the raw numbers here to see how much more money can we get out of Endgame. We've got $815 million now. How much extra is possible to get in the US domestic market? In the past several videos, I was comparing Endgame to Star Wars The Force Awakens and looking at the ratio in which Endgame was earning money compared to Star Wars The Force Awakens and trying to project that out to see how much I think Endgame could get in the US domestic market. And I think my last figure in the last video last week was $833 million. So $833 million, that's what I said I thought Endgame would get. What I've done this time, just to get maybe a different figure or to just calculate it a different way, is to compare Endgame to Infinity War. And here we've got Endgame on the left and Infinity War on the right for the last couple of weeks in the equivalent days in the box office. And if you look closely, you can see that they're fairly similar, but more recently Infinity War has been out-earning Endgame. So what we can take away from that is that Endgame probably won't earn however much extra money Infinity War earned from this point in time. So if you look down the bottom, we've got $643 million that Infinity War had on its day 38, which is the Sunday we've just got. And up the top left in the Infinity War section, in the highlighted blue, we have its total US domestic box office, which was $678 million. Which means it got an extra $35 million from this point in time for its total US domestic run. So I don't think Endgame can do quite that, but that would kind of be my best case scenario right now. So if Endgame could earn exactly the same way in which Infinity War earned its money from this point out, it would get an additional $35 million, but it is earning less money, so it really won't get this $35 million, but that would be the sort of best case scenario. But if we look at the actual ratio in which Endgame is earning money compared to Infinity War, particularly in the last week, but also in the last 2 weeks, I come up with a figure of around about an additional $22 million. So I think at this stage, the best bet using the Infinity War ratios to Endgame is I think Endgame will earn an additional $22 million, or it'll get $837 million. So using the Star Wars Force Awakens projections last week, I said 833. Here I'm saying 837. So a little bit more, still pretty close, but $837 million, that's my specific number, just to see if we can get to this $63 million to beat Avatar. And onto the international box office. Here I've got the totals for each of the Sundays for Avengers Endgame. So at the end of the first Sunday, which was just the first opening weekend, we had $866 million. At the end of the second Sunday, we had $1.5 billion. In the middle there, you can see the difference for the whole week, $702 million for the second week. The third week internationally got $193 million. The next week got $82 million. The previous week from this week got $35 million. And what we just got right now with the numbers from this Sunday is $18.4 million, which is a 47.9% drop from the previous week. Now that's a bit better than the 57% drop we just had, but it's not really that different. So it is a better figure, but because the numbers are getting lower, even if the percents are a little bit out, you're dealing with a percentage of a smaller figure. And at this stage, I think it's safe to bet that it'll probably get about a 50% drop somewhere around there for the next week. So we're looking around about $9 million for the next week. Again, another 50% drop probably, so you're looking at about $4.5 million, and so on and so forth. So basically, it'll be difficult to see that it can earn more than $20 million more from this point in time in the international market. So $20 million extra, if this rate keeps going a little bit better than it is right now, is what I think the best amount it can actually earn will be. And once again, I think it'll get about $22 million in the US domestic market. So obviously 22 and 20 is $42 million. It needs $63 million to beat Avatar. So using these figures here, I don't think that Avengers Endgame will actually earn more money than Avatar earned in its total worldwide earnings. Also, the number I'm using here for Avatar, this $2.776 billion, it is the lower of the two figures that are floating out there. The Box Office Mojo figure for Avatar is $11 million more than this. And so, according to Box Office Mojo, it would need $74 million extra, not $63 million extra to actually beat Avatar. But I don't think it's actually in danger of beating either of them. But let's look at that other figure I talked about. How much money do I think maybe it could get? So I think the $42 million right now is a good place to look at. I think that's a smart place to say this is how much money I think it'll get. But can we get a bit more money? Can we get to the $63 million? So once again, back looking at the Endgame and Infinity War numbers, again, Infinity War earned another $35 million from this point in time on. I just don't see how we could say that Endgame could earn more than that. Okay, it's earning less money than Infinity War did just on this weekend, so it's really hard to say, well, it could obviously earn more than Infinity War now. I don't think it can, but best case scenario, $35 million. Okay, so forget the $22 million I said I think it'll get. What if it can get this $35 million, which I don't think it will, but let's say it can. I just don't think it can get more than that. Okay, I really don't think it's going to get $40 million extra and so on. $35 million, I don't think it'll get that, but let's say $35 million extra for the US domestic market. And so that'll leave about $28 million to get in the foreign market. As I said before, I think it'll be lucky to get $20 million extra. But what do we need to get more than that? What do we need to get $28 or $30 million extra in the foreign market? Well, right here, if we can get a 35% reduction from the $18.4 million next week, and another 35%, and another 35%, and so on. So if we can just get a 35% reduction every single week from week to week, that'll get somewhere over $30 million in the actual foreign market, which will bring it above the $28 extra million it needs, or in other words, in total, it'll bring it over the $63 million. So that's the kind of scenario where this can happen. I don't think this is a realistic scenario, but if you want to see what it'll take to actually beat Avatar, and again, this is $11 million short of perhaps the real record. So the figure I've got here is $11 million less than what Box Office Mojo lists for Avatar's total. But nonetheless, if we can get $35 million in the US domestic market, which I don't think it will do, but if it can get $35 million extra in the US domestic market, this is how it can get the other $30 or so million. It needs to get a 35% reduction every single week from here on out. I think a 50% reduction from every single week is more realistic than a 35, but this is what it needs to make it. So once again, in a week's time, if it's got something like 11 or $12 million in the foreign market for another week, yeah, this maybe could still happen. But I wouldn't put money on it myself to say that this will actually happen, but it is going to get close nonetheless. So it's getting very, very close. The amount of money that it is earning week to week is far smaller than what we've seen in the past, so this will be a very slow race to see if it does in fact get to the $2.776 billion and beat Avatar or not. It'll take a while to see it, but we can already see right now, just with the amount of money it's earning, it's definitely not going to be easy to get there. I don't think it will get there, but it's definitely not going to do it, next week or the week after. It's going to take quite a while. Now, these figures could be getting reported wrong. That could always be a possibility. Things could be revised up on Monday. So if Monday gets a revised amount that's a fair bit bigger than this, that would be good news to maybe still beat Avatar. But assuming that these figures for Sunday are correct, I don't think it can do it. I don't think Endgame can beat Avatar. I think Avatar will remain as the biggest film ever without inflation. Coming out later on this week, we've got Dark Phoenix and The Secret Life of Pets 2. Most predictions are that Secret Life of Pets 2 will be number 1 in the box office, and Dark Phoenix will be number 2 in the box office in the upcoming weekend. And the week after that, we've got Men in Black International. That'll probably be the number 1 film for that weekend. So lots of big-ish films coming out every week or every 2 weeks. No real reprieve for Endgame to get any extra money. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.